It's time too, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is it recording?
Yep, you're good.
So we're live? Hello everyone, this is Dr. David at Home Wellness Institute. Welcome to our student webinar today. We've got some real good questions. We're going to go over some good information. And I hope I'm doing this right. Bear with me as we get moving here. Oh, good. All right, question number one. And remember, whenever I go over any of this stuff, feel free to ask questions. I think there's a chat function here. I'm not sure. We're perfecting this medium all the time. And we have some very, very exciting information that will be coming out soon. It's so exciting and such a huge change that I'll give you a couple of hints. The Educational Institute is going to be still part of it, but we're adding so much stuff. It's just going to blow your mind. We're actually putting together a company that will cater to all holistic health practitioners. We'll have lots of content, lots of training, lots of videos, product, pre-constructed sites that you can use with your clients, educational benefits, membership to accreditation boards. It's going to be very, very cool, and it's big. So just giving you some hints and tidbits here. So first question, what do you feel for when you're reading a pulse? When doing Ayurvedic pulse reading, basically what you're looking for is, remember I've discussed this. Well, hold on a second here. Let me make sure this is working. Okay, I'm back. So I think it's working. When you're reading a pulse, an Ayurvedic pulse read, remember I've discussed doshas and how people all get caught up in dosha. What's my dosha? What's this dosha? Well, what's the dosha really made up of? You know, ether and air is vata, fire and water, pitta, and water and earth is kapha. But what makes up those doshas is actually the gunas, the attributes. So there's certain points in the pulse where you read vata, there's certain points where you read pitta, and there's certain points where you read kapha. But within those points, you're trained to feel the gunas, the attributes. So, and this sounds funny, when I first started reading pulses, I was told eventually you'll be able to taste and smell the pulse. I was like, what? And you legitimately can. And there's an old saying, you have to read 1,000 pulses before you can learn to read pulses. And what that means is that you have to spend a lot of time on yourself, like in the morning when you wake up, before you go to the bathroom, after you go to the bathroom, before a shower, after a shower, before you eat, after you eat, when you get stressed out, when you're happy, when you're this, when you're that, you start reading it. So even to this day, I just did it last week, in fact. If I see pregnant ladies, I'm always like, hey, I'm a holistic doctor. Do you mind if I read your pulse? And because I want to learn what that pregnant pulse feels like. And it repeats. So I know I'm very confident I can, within 80% chance, tell someone if they're pregnant, tell a lady if they're pregnant. And I can't figure out the sex of the child. Some say they can. But getting back to this, what you're feeling for is the gunas, the attributes. So if it's dry, light, rough, then that's going to be vata. If it's oily and hot and really jumps, it's going to be more pitta. And if it's slow, cloudy, and heavy, that's going to be more kapha. So you're feeling the doshas through the gunas. What is the benefit of bitters, and which dosha benefits from bitters the most? Well, look at it this way. The bitter taste. So the 6 tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, astringent. Bitter is in the bottom 3. The top 3 are anabolic, they build. The bottom 3 are more catabolic, they deplete or remove. So sweet, sour, salty builds, bitter, pungent, astringent breaks down. Bitter, the elements of the bitter taste is ether and air. So you would not want to ever give a bitter to someone with vata vikriti. And if they're suffering from a vata imbalance, you don't want to give them bitters. And guess what they're usually drawn to? Who is more likely to be a vegetarian, a kapha or a vata? Vata. What are green veggies? They have bitters in them. Okay, so you got to be careful with that. So what's the benefit? It reduces. And it also, well, if you look at ether and air, it's lighter. So someone that has a heavy component to them, either kapha and even some pitta situations, you can use bitter. So I don't like to automatically 100% say this is how it is, but just keep in mind what the gunas are and what the tastes are and how those work versus saying what will this work for, if that makes sense. So you know it's ether and air. So when you're in a situation where the person needs more ether and air, then you would use bitters. You wouldn't say, do I use bitters for this? You would say, what is coming up in the pulse? I need more ether and air. Therefore, I should use bitter. What would be a treatment recommendation for a young pitta male who is full of anger? Well, first thing you would do is you would figure out what season is it. And, you know, we're looking for causation. We're looking for why. And this is such a broad question that it's actually difficult to attribute the 100% cookie cutter answer. So the thing you'd want to do is, okay, what are the elements in pitta? And it's fire and water. What's the daily lifestyle like? What's the dinacharya like? Are they going to bed? As an example, I'm more prevalent pitta dosha. I know that if I stay up too late, pitta will kick in and I have a hard time falling asleep. So how's their sleep? Are they going to bed before pitta time, before 10 p.m.? Are they eating hot sauce? Like, I was addicted to hot sauce. It took me 2 years to quit hot sauce. I was putting hot sauce pretty much on every bite. So treatment recommendations for a pitta male who is full of anger, the first thing you have to do is figure out dinacharya. More than likely, they're eating something incorrect or they are doing something incorrect in their daily lifestyle. But just a real quick thing you want to do is you want to calm and cool the liver. But that's not universal, because if they have tikshna agni, meaning really high spiking type agni, that isn't normal. People think, well, I've got a wonderful digestion. I have tikshna agni. No, that's not what that means. Good agni means you digest everything at a good rate. Things don't spike. Tikshna agni means it's spiking. So this may sound counterintuitive. Many times in tikshna agni situations, you actually want to help the liver and you want to help digestion. So first thing I would do, daily lifestyle, what are they eating? And if you really want me to commit to something today, how about neem? Take a capsule of neem 3 times a day and maybe eat a little bit of coconut oil a couple times a day, like a teaspoon. So remember, daily lifestyle, dinacharya, daily lifestyle and diet is supported by herbs. Most practitioners get it the other way around. Oh, take these things, and if you can, work this into your daily. No, it doesn't work like that. Change how your mind works, how you visualize things, how your perception of reality. I deal with a lot of holistic health practitioner students, and one of the people that succeed are the ones that realize, hey, I'm not right up here. If you already think you're right, then you're wrong. You have to be open to everything. So a person in this situation with excess pitta probably thinks they know everything. So you have to calm them down, check on the dinacharya, and give them a couple of herbs or foods that would be calming for pitta. So sorry I can't give you an exact answer on that one, but everyone's treated different. I mean, you have to really come to grips with that. How do you make your tinctures and formulas? Formulas, you can see some of my herbs behind me. Those are based on traditional Ayurvedic formulas, and then I tweak them based on digestive function, state of agni, the season, and other things that I pick up in the interview process and the pulse and the tongue. So formulas that I make are powdered, and I mix them over here, and they're administered with an anupana. An anupana means delivery vehicle. It's typically a liquid. Like we use a lot of ginger tea as an anupana. You can use, there's other calls for ghee and even aloe vera juice. So that's the way I make the formulas. Tinctures, very standard. I just make them just like anyone else. You can find those all over the internet. I use either glycerin, alcohol, water, sometimes glycerin, alcohol, and water, sometimes alcohol and water. It all depends on what we're using. If you're using root, you're using leaves, what you're trying to accomplish. So remember, everything that we do in the holistic realm is what are we trying to accomplish? Forget about, we're conditioned to think that there's these cookie cutter answers to everything, and it doesn't work like that. The type of questions I hope start coming in are more like case related. Like, I've got this situation going on, and this is what I need help on. So everyone's an individual, and if you try to cookie cutter it, will not work. What is ama? Ama is undigested food particles, meaning when our agni isn't sufficient or isn't functioning correctly, we don't digest our food, we don't break it down, we don't assimilate it. So what happens is the body starts thinking that it's a toxin, and ama becomes toxic. And ama technically leads to, the Ayurvedic view is it leads to all issues. Even though, remember, per Ayurveda, all disease starts due to two reasons. One is mistake of intellect, and two is misuse of the senses. And if you look at mistake of intellect and misuse of the senses, we usually do things that cause ama. So you can kind of coordinate ama in with that. And there's also mental ama. So ama is something that's not pure and not able to be used by the body. So we accumulate it, and I can go on even further that ama is actually somewhat of a precursor to autoimmune. So if we don't get rid of the ama in our body, and we don't honor the seasons, and we don't increase agni and get balanced, ama can cause a lot of problems. In marma therapy, I've seen marma wands advertised online. Are these wands good? A good tool, or is it better to use hands? If you're talking about kanza wands, they're used over marma points, but treating marma points is typically done by hands. I wouldn't necessarily focus on this unless you're already a graduate, because you really need to focus on removing ama, bettering dinacharya, balancing agni, and this would be an adjunct way down the road. Because if they're not doing that, the marma point therapy isn't going to do much. And that's what's another thing that's happened with society is, in an example I use all the time, we choose what we like. We don't choose what we need to do. That's why I go to an Ayurvedic doctor, and everyone should go see someone else. If you try to assess or diagnose your own self, it won't work, because us kidding ourselves is what got us to that point. So how can the thing that's kidding yourself fix yourself? It just can't happen. So you need to and what we're drawn to is what we like. Like the example I always use is my buddy who's a chiropractor. He loves meat and cheese. He's literally been on the Atkins diet for 35 years. Since I've known him, he's been on the Atkins diet, maybe 25. But anyway, I've known him around 30 years. He's always, hey, I'm on the Atkins diet. He looks exactly the same. And all he does is eat meat and cheese because he loves it. So people will choose these type of therapies thinking they don't have to put in the uncomfortable stuff. They don't have to change the diet. They don't have to change the way they think. They don't have to go to bed early. They're going to push on points and get better. So as holistic health practitioners, if I could give you some very good advice, don't worry about that stuff till you're practicing. If you don't understand fasting, you don't understand the bowel, you don't understand juicing, you don't understand the things that are outlined in the course, this is going to be meaningless. If you put triphala drops in your eyes, should you do it continually, or should you do it for 3 months, or 3 months on and 3 months off? That I can't give that answer because I don't know who the person is. I know nothing about their agni. I know nothing about their state of ama. I don't know anything about them. So to just blindly say, should you do this, is difficult. You might only need one one application. You may need it every day. I don't really know why. So when we're submitting these questions, guys, you got to remember it's the individual. There's no process for this. There's not like, oh, everyone needs to do this. One thing that Ayurveda does say is that all openings or orifices, you put ghee in them. So it's right there. So there's no reason to do triphala if the ancient texts say use ghee. You can just take a couple little drops or a little dab of ghee and just put it in the corner of your eye and get it in there. It'll melt at our body temperature. And that's good enough. You can do that. Nose, you're supposed to put it everywhere. So I would lean more towards just a tiny bit of ghee. But without knowing the situation, I can't give that answer. I don't use it every day. Some people claim to, but I have not seen that in the ancient texts saying that you should use triphala drops as dinacharya. I have seen ghee, though. Now, I could be wrong because those texts are long. But again, when you submit these questions, try to give me the case behind it. Could you please describe the human relation to plants and how it is important to support our environment? I could go on for about 2 hours about this, how important they are us. We're actually interrelated. If you study some of these science experiments, there's one guy that, and I can't remember his name, this just came to me. He actually took like a polygraph and he hooked the polygraph to plants, and then he would make suggestions like, he would do it mentally, I'm going to snip a leaf, and they wouldn't react. He actually went to his drawer and he pulled out a lighter and they went crazy. And then he started like burning one plant and seeing what the other plants would do. And they would communicate. They would literally scream. And then he started testing trees, and he started testing. One time he even took some plants that were hooked up to his polygraph type machine, and he went into a diner, and when people would walk through the door, they would react. And then one time this guy came walking through the door and they started to scream. They're giving off all these vibrations. So he went over to the man and he asked the man what his job was, and he mowed lawns. So they're part of us. They communicate with us. They protect us. They feed us. They have prana. So I can go on forever, but it's very, very important. We need to honor them, just like we do animals, just like we do our pets. We need to honor them, and we need to thank them. And I could go on also like about the experiments where people swear and say mean things to plants and how they die. So there's something to be said about that. And one other thing, I've heard this and I can't verify it. I don't consider myself an herbalist or a botanist, but some herbalists and botanists even say that what grows around our home is actually what we need to treat our imbalances. So I haven't verified that, but I would not hesitate to believe it to be true, universal truth. And I also have heard that if there are, there's remedies with our plants, like if you're near an ocean that has a lot of jellyfish, that there will be remedies to those stings within that area. So plants communicate, and plants actually look after us. That's a very good question. How does praying to plants increase potency? Well, that same guy that hooked up the machines to the plants would even talk about giving thanks to the plants before he would ingest them. And I think he even monitored his own vibration on these. But that's probably where that came from, giving thanks to the plants, giving thanks to the prana, giving thanks to earth that provided it. So increased potency, yeah. And another thing, that's a good point. Ayurveda teaches that you take a deep breath, you sit down, you look at your food, you confirm that you have all 6 tastes, sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, astringent in your meal. You look at it, you tell yourself, okay, give thanks. This is what this is going to do for me. You take a deep breath, which signifies you're now going to uptake nutrients in a sattvic way. You eat slowly, calmly, nobody talking around you when you get done. Another deep breath, done, to signify it's over. It's not like eating the last bite as you're walking past the sink and putting your plate in the sink, or having a phone conversation or flipping through Facebook while you're eating. So plants are very healing, as we know, and they're also part of us. We match a lot of things with RNA and DNA, And there's so many things that, like I said, we could go on for hours on that. If you had to recommend just one herb to take daily, what would it be? I don't think I can even give you an answer because, again, I don't know the constitution. I don't know the area of the world. I don't know the area of, I don't know the season or anything like that. But if you're going to force me into a corner, here living here in the Midwest, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take a small amount of dandelion root because it's prevalent here. We have a more congested nature, and those are the type of things that we see in the Midwest. Is it okay to drink organic coffee daily? That's a good question. If you're in a ama situation and your prakriti is more kapha, you need stimulation, you need dilation, and it's bitter. But you find that lots of vattas are addicted to coffee. The vata prakriti is bitter. Okay, and remember we just went over bitters. So is it okay? Again, the person. Depends on the person. I don't think it's good to be addicted to anything. And if you find yourself getting up and not being able to function until you drink coffee, that's an issue. But you want to enjoy a cup or two? I'm freely admit I have a hard time kicking it. Us pittas, we love it too. And what I do, just so you know, is I take instant, freeze-dried, organic coffee, and I put it in ginger tea with some stevia and coconut milk, and it's really a good tasting drink. So it's got the ginger tea, it's got a little bit of coffee, stevia, and coconut milk. So a concoction like that could be good. But I only drink 2, and then I go to Dandy Blend. For those of you, there's some of you out there looking for a coffee alternative, Dandy Blend's pretty cool. It's dandelion root and chicory root are the main ingredients. I'm having difficulty falling asleep at night. What do you recommend to help me get to sleep faster? Okay, to get to sleep faster, what you need to do is go to bed earlier and get up earlier because our circadian rhythms will match nature. So more than likely, remember pitta time is 10 to 2, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. If you try to go to sleep during pitta time, it's going to be more difficult. If you try to go to sleep during vata time, 2 to 6, it's going to be very difficult. Going to sleep during kapha time, 6 to 10, is the most dense, heavy feeling. And this happened to me, actually. Normally, I'll get up and use the restroom right around between 3:30 and 4:30, and I just get up. That's when I normally get up. Today, I went to the bathroom around 2:30 or 3, and I laid back down, and oh my God, did I sleep. I normally don't sleep past 6, but 6:30, I was sound asleep, and I had a hard time getting up. And I never have a hard time getting up. So I made it into kapha time, and I did not want to wake up. So reverse that. Go back to the other 12-hour period, 6 to 10 in the evening. And I did go to bed at that time, and I fell asleep just like that. So if you're having a hard time when your metabolism, you have a metabolic or an anxiety type feeling at night, go to bed earlier. And then also do not eat for 2 to 3 hours. If it's kapha, 3 hours, vata 2 hours, pitta 2 hours. Don't eat for that number of time before you lie down, not when you go to sleep. And that lets your GI tract stop. And what is prevalent in our GI tract? Agni. What is Agni related to? Pitta. What keeps us awake? Pitta. What happens as we eat? Does Vata need to get active? Yeah, it needs to get active. It needs to move. So Vata and Pitta are going while we're trying to go to sleep. It just doesn't work. So you need to give that all a rest. Hopefully that helps. So whoever submitted that question, if you need anything more, definitely look us up. And I think that is it. Meg, did we have any questions come in or anything? Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. It was wonderful today. And I will see you next month. Please keep submitting questions, but try to give me the background on the person. That can give you a lot better answers. See you soon.